welcome to my channel. My name is Angel. If you've been here before, welcome back, and if you're new, thank you for stumbling upon my channel and watching this video. So today we're doing a hashtag Let's Be Friends. This is a VR to Tarot is Magic. There's several prompts, so we're going to jump straight in with no hesitation. Okay, prompt number one is, what type of art style are you looking for in a deck? So usually or generally I am a very colourful person where it concerns my decks. I love me some colour in my decks. If you've seen any of my videos, if you haven't seen any of my videos, here's a bit of an insight into the kind of decks that I really love. This is the Sweet Foragers Tarot, the mass market version, and this is the Muse Tarot. Yeah, I love colour in my decks. Hashtag colour me happy. I really enjoy this kind of like fantasy theme, I would say, since maybe the beginning of last year. That's really started drawing me in, and I've gathered a few other or newer decks in my collection which are more of a fantasy theme. Love collage decks, absolutely adore them. So yeah, I would definitely say that colour is definitely my aesthetic. The more colour the better. However, I'm going to say that maybe like from September, October, November last year, I started being more attracted to the subdued decks. I'm going to give you an example of 3 decks that I'm working with right at the minute. Let's pop these ones out of the way. Yeah, so these 3 have become real favourites in my collection. This is the Earth and Bone Oracle, which is the mass market. It's edged in this beautiful blue. Then we've got the Darkwood Tarot, and then we've even got the what's this one called? Lopatin Oracle, I want to say it's called. These are the backs. I've edged mine in blue, and I'm having a real moment with wolf energy. I'm not talking about as like an animal ally energy. I'm talking about I'm working with the inner wolves within myself, if that makes any sense. Yeah, anyway, so these 3 decks have been really helping me with that journey that I'm on, to be honest. Warning for nudity, should have mentioned that. Now, so as mentioned, the colours in these decks are a lot more subdued than the others. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to go back to the colour in my decks. That's, you know, it's probably a bit of a phase that I'm going through, and the work that I'm doing currently with my facets of self and these this wolf energy that I'm working with right at the minute. But yeah, but these 2 or these 3 are just amazing. They really are. I love the readings that I'm getting with them. I'm doing some really powerful, deep work with these 3. So I would definitely say that right at the minute, these kind of decks are my aesthetic. Let's take a couple more cards just to give you a bit more of an idea. Look at this. It's just, oh, it's just, isn't it just? Love this. This one is a low Scarabeo deck with no keywords, unfortunately. However, I feel that the artwork, I have a really strong reaction to the artwork, and I find it very intuitive, which, you know, so having no keywords on the cards makes no difference to me in any case. I like the guidebook as well. As a normal low Scarabeo deck, it looks very chunky, but it's actually not. It's quite a small amount of information in the guidebook, but the write-ups in the guidebook are good. You know, I think they're really good. So yeah, so generally, colourful decks are my aesthetic. Right now, more subdued decks have been stealing the limelight in my practice. Let's move on to the next question. The next question is, let's just grab my notes. What do you search for in a deck? What do I search for in a deck? I would say, actually, it's a bit like I was just been speaking about, really. Previously I have looked for colour in my decks, and at the moment I'm really looking for decks that call to me. This deck was not on my radar at all. And then, I don't know, I just got a calling for it at the end of last year. Yeah, it's strange. It's a strange one to explain, I've got to say. Let's go into that a bit more in the next question. And the next question is, what deck are you most intrigued by right now and why? So let's move on to that question, and I'm going to show another deck, and that kind of gives you an insight into the previous question. So I'm supposed to be in a low buy year. Well, I'm on a low buy year, and this is one of my first new buys of the year. This is the Wanderer's Tarot. I've saw this a couple of times at the beginning of the year, and I was really drawn to it. And I was thinking, no, you are supposed to be in a low buy year. You are not to buy any decks. I also purchased the guidebook just to, rub salt into the wounds. Yeah, and I just kept seeing this deck, and it's kept intriguing me, which is really bizarre because I don't tend to go for pip decks, and I would definitely say this is a pip deck. Let's show you some of the cards so you can see. So, for instance, the numbers are like tallied up, like when and they're very pip-like. Obviously, the majors and the court cards are fully illustrated. But there was just something that really, really drew me to this deck and really intrigued me, which totally goes against my aesthetic. There's no colour in it, it's the black and the white. But this just feels really mystical and witchy to me. Yeah, and when I got it home and I started looking through the cards, usually I look through the cards, at quite not a speed, but just like this. And with these, I was like studying each card individually, stopping, going to the guidebook, looking up what the description was and what the thought process was behind the artwork. And I haven't done that so much previously. I've been quite, not flippant about looking through the cards, but looking through the cards and then going back to them another time with the guidebook. Whereas this time I really sat and paused and was still with this deck. So that was really interesting. So this is really making me very, I'm very intrigued by this deck right now. I plan to work with it in March for the month. So yeah, I mean, this is just really intriguing, I think, personally. Obviously got the different suit. I believe the feathers are wands, which is going to take a bit of time to get my head around. That's something I usually look for in a deck as well. I usually look for suits that, for instance, the pentacles, the swords, the wands, the cups, or earth, water, fire, air, for instance. I tend to shy away from decks nowadays that change out the suits to something that I can't quite quickly associate with the element. So feathers for me is going to be it's going to possibly trip me up slightly in the beginning, and that's unusual. I've tried to stay away from those decks, but this deck I was like, I don't mind, that doesn't make a difference, I want it, I'm purchasing it. So the knives, obviously the swords, the feathers are the wands as mentioned, and we have the moons, which are the cups, and the stones, which are the pentacles. I just find it really, really interesting. And I love this from the first person's perspective, like you're looking down at your own toes and you're looking toward this pool. I just think it's really interesting. I'm totally intrigued by this deck, and I'm so looking forward to working with it. And I love this as well. This is the Three of Wands, and I recently did a poppet spell with my my 3 poppets. And I did something similar to this, which is also why the deck was calling to me. I'm not going to go too much into what I did, but this totally reminds me of what I did with my poppets. So I'm working a lot with facets of self at the minute, and healing different aspects of myself and my inner child, and my shadow self and things like that. So yeah, this deck just totally intrigues me. Okay, next question. Is there a card that you always check out and why? Okay, so I do have several cards that I tend to look for. I'm going to say the first one is my ancestral guide that came through to me. I work with my ancestors and I have an ancestral practice. This is from the Tower of Mystical Moments, which is my dedicated deck for ancestral work. The Knight of Cups, this is a very important card for me. I always check this card out in a deck. The same again as another ancestor guide that came through for me, which is the Page of Swords. The Ten of Pentacles, because this one always speaks to me of my ancestors, especially in this deck, but generally in all decks I always look at the Ten of Pentacles. The Tower card. The Tower card is my favourite card in the tarot, so I tend to look for that one as well when I look through the deck. And this year I'm in a Temperance year. So I've started to even look at the Temperance card and even go to the guidebook for the Temperance description. If you've seen any of my videos, you'll know that I have trouble remembering the Temperance description. The meaning of that card just does not stick in my brain. And as I'm in a Temperance year, I'm really studying that card. I'm going to say not religiously, but I'm working with that card the whole of 2024. So my goal is that by the end of 2024, whenever I pull the Temperance card, in the future, I'm going to know it without having to go to the guidebook to read about it. And I think the Temperance card has got a lot to teach me. I'm a Sagittarius, and obviously the Temperance card is Sagittarius. It's all about moderation, which I'm not overly great about. I'm at one end of the scale or the other. There's no middle ground for me, I'm afraid. It's all or nothing. So those are the cards anyway that I look for whenever I look at a new deck. To say though that I would still buy a deck if there was some depictions that I wasn't overly certain about. I don't think they would stop me. I think if all of the depictions in the deck were not my cup of tea, it would stop me purchasing the deck. But if one of them or two of them were not my favourites, I don't think that would stop me purchasing the deck. So yeah. Okay, next question. How do you feel about the esoteric stuff in tarot? I'm still quite a newbie, I've got to say. I'm noticing more and more of the esoteric in tarot cards. However, I wouldn't say I've, dipped my toes that deeply into it at the minute. So I can't really say one way or another. That was a short answer, but that was my answer for that question. Next question. RWS, Thoth, Marseille, and why? So I'm taking this as which system we read. I read the RWS. When I first started on my tarot journey, I researched tarot, and RWS was the first that came up. So it just kind of felt, quite like a no-brainer really to go with that system. I do have a Thoth deck. In fact, I have two. And I even have a few other decks that are inspired by Thoth, or Thoth inspired, should I say. This is, I would say this is one of my favourite Thoth inspired or Thoth decks. This is the Liberty Tower of Stars Eternal, if that's what it's, I'm sure that's what it's called. I've edged mine in green, and I personally prefer this one to the original Thoth. For some reason, the original Thoth, my brain just shuts down when I see those images. I feel really intimidated by those images, whereas these, I don't know. These just, I don't know what it is. These just work for me. So yeah, I really enjoy this deck. I'm studying the Thoth. I'm not going to say that I'm still quite a newbie to tarot generally. I started my tarot journey in 2020. So I still class myself as a newbie, a total newbie. But I have started diving into the Thoth and reading some books and pulling some cards and, learning the meanings and things like that. But RWS is still my favourite. Marseille, I haven't even dipped my toes into Marseille, and to be honest, I don't feel drawn to do that either. But you never know. Never say never. Suddenly things happen. Suddenly things change. Okay, next question. What are my thoughts on cardstock? Oh, that's a great question. I wouldn't say I'm too bothered about cardstock. Should I show you my two favourite decks with my favourite cardstock? I think I should. Why not? Okay, so this is the Stunning Tarot. I think this is the 3rd edition, but don't quote me on that. I've edged mine in red. And this is the Unfolding Path Tarot. This is the Kickstarter version. I love this. I think this cardstock is very similar to this cardstock, but don't quote me on that. I'm obviously, you know, I'm not so high tech on my cardstock. But it just shuffles beautifully. Although saying that, it's not going to do that on camera now. Oh, that was quite okay. Yeah, so the Unfolding Path Tarot is just amazing. Amazing. I love the images, and I love the cardstock. I don't know what the cardstock likes on the mass market. It's a Hay House deck, right? And I feel intrigued to buy that because of the guidebook, but I've held off so far, and I will be holding off on that this year as well. So anyway, that's one of them. I love that cardstock. And let's grab the Stunning Tarot. It's the same with this one. These cards are a little bit bigger. Not a big fan of rose petal cardstock, I've got to say. I have is it the Star Child? The Star Child tarot, and those cards just stick together like nobody's business. But these are like, it's like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know what it's like, but it's like something, and it's amazing. So yeah, that's my favourite cardstock. If I remember to write it on the screen, I will write what the cardstock is in these decks. Fingers crossed, Editing Angel remembers. Let's move on to the next question, and let's continue going through these cards. So I've got something to show you. Next question, bags or boxes? I'm a boxes girl, I've got to say. I do like the whole aesthetic of having decks in bags, but I would never remember what decks were in a bag. I have a couple that are in a bag, special decks, and I tend to use like pre-loved or pre-owned or thrifted, like special, what are they called, purses or makeup bags or things like that. So for instance, I purchased this one, which I haven't found a deck for this one yet, but this is going to be a tarot bag, which is like one of those old-fashioned little evening purses. Look at this, it's beautiful. So I tend to use this kind of thing if I'm going to use a tarot bag, but generally I keep my decks in boxes, just to keep them safe, really. Yeah, so that's that one. Next question. How did you get into tarot, and how did you learn tarot? I've spoken about this previously, actually, and I'm going to link another video in the description box if you want to see that as well. I got into tarot through a colleague. It was during the pandemic, and we were still working through the pandemic, me and my colleagues, and it was just before Christmas, and we were having a staff day just before breaking up for Christmas, and my colleague is a yoga teacher, so we were going to do some yoga together. She was going to lead us through some yoga, and before we started the yoga class, I'm going to say, my colleague had taken an oracle deck with them, and they had laid out the cards face down like this, all spread out on the mat, and we were to go to her mat one at a time and pick a card that called to us without seeing the picture. And then we took our card and went back to the mat, and then we showed her the card, and then she read from the guidebook. And also I helped read from the guidebook because I don't live in an English speaking country, and the oracle deck was in English, so I translated the guidebook for my colleagues. And I'm going to say, it sounds like cliche and like unbelievable, but every single message that my colleagues got like hit the mark, and they were such deep messages that I think all of us ended up crying, because it was just so on point, with the message that we received from the cards. And that kind of proved to me there and then what an amazing tool oracle can be. And tarot just felt like a natural progression. You know, I got home and I was, I was kind of reeling from that experience, to be honest, because before that had happened, I was quite closed off emotionally. I was quite numb, and that oracle reading like opened the floodgates, and I just, it just made me bawl like a baby, and I just realised what an amazing tool that would be. So I started researching oracle, which led me straight away to tarot, and that kind of I kind of got into tarot first, really, before oracle, although oracle is what led me to tarot, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's how it all got started. And I started with the Rider-Waite-Smith, and I also started with the Ethereal Visions Tarot, which I didn't get along with. And then I finally purchased the oh goodness me, what's it called? My mind has totally gone a blank. The Chrysan deck, the Lightseers Tarot, obviously, and that's how I learned tarot. And I bought a couple of books and I read those, and I drew cards every single day, and I did readings for myself, and that's how I learned. Basically, I just enjoyed it. I was looking forward to using it as a tool for healing. That's what I used tarot for, and oracle for, and yeah, and so I just learnt that way. And a few months into my practice, I started allowing myself to. I suppose I started to allow myself to receive these intuitive messages also from the cards, and initially I thought, oh no, that's not Rider-Waite-Smith. But then I started to trust my intuition that was the message I was supposed to receive through the card, and since then it's just been leaps and bounds forward, and as a tool it's amazing. It's just truly amazing, and I owe a lot of my healing to tarot and oracle. Basically, that was a long explanation. Apologies. Okay, moving on to the next question. Best news that I've heard in the tarot world. What would that be? Oh, well, I think that's the Blood Moon. The Blood Moon Tarot I heard is being reprinted. That is going to be absolutely amazing. I would love to own that deck. So I'm most happy about that. Next question. How many decks are on your to-get list? Not very many, I have to say. I don't think there's any decks on my list at the minute to get. Obviously, I've got a couple of unicorn decks. One of those being Bubba Studios' Alice deck. I would like to get that into my hands one day. But otherwise, no, not really. As mentioned, I'm trying to be good, and I'm on a low buy it this year, so I don't want to seduce myself into purchasing new decks. Okay. If you could only keep 3 decks, which ones would you choose? Oh no, that's a really tough question. Okay, so right now, if, goddess forbid, my apartment caught fire, I think my 2 kitty cats and these 3 decks are the things that I would grab. These 3 decks, this is the Tarot of Mystical Moments. This is the deck I use for ancestral work, edged in silver. This is the Darkwood Tarot, mass market. This was a pre-love find on eBay. This is my shadow work deck. That connects me to my jaded self or shadow self. And this is the Tower of Oneness. This was a Kickstarter that I backed, edged in this beautiful colour. And this, I love this. This is the 2 of Cups on the top here. This connects me to my inner child. This is my inner child work deck. Yeah, and the reason I would save them is because the connection I've got to them, to all of them. These 3 decks are just. They give me such amazing readings. I have so many powerful moments whilst using these decks, and epiphanies that come to me, and intuitive messages that come through, in all 3 of these decks. So yeah, for that reason, I would save these 3, which maybe is a bit surprising, considering that 2 of them are in mass market, and one of them was a pre-love find. But it's about quality, isn't it? Quality over quantity, and the readings that I get with these 3 are just phenomenal. They really are. Obviously not together, but individually they are just amazing. So yeah, this one was a definite surprise. I did not expect this to be an inner child deck for me. But when I started using it, I think I just, got an intuitive hit to read with it, to bring it forward. And lo and behold, my inner child came through on it. So it's just been amazing, 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 amazing. So these three and my two kitty cats are the things that I would grab. Yeah, so next question. How does knowing tarot influence your everyday? I would say it influences quite a lot. I'm going to carry on flipping the cards here, I think. I look, without realising it, I see things in the everyday that reminds me of tarot. Like, for instance, if I'm shopping, I might see an image on an image on a wine bottle I've seen recently, and it was a moth, which totally made me think of the death card in the tarot. And when I had that, thought process, I was thinking, my goodness me, I need to take a break from tarot. I'm seeing tarot everywhere. Obviously, I don't, because I love tarot. And I obviously pull cards very often. I like to know the energy of the day, or maybe what I need to look out for or think about during my day. And I tend to pull those, for instance, before I go to work, and then when I come home from work, I tend to look back at the card and reflect on what it meant for me during my working day, for instance. So I think it influences me quite a lot, to be honest. I don't rely heavily on tarot that I use it to make decisions or anything like that. I tend to use it mostly as a healing tool, as mentioned. So yeah. Next question. If I could turn back time, isn't that a song? Isn't that Cher's song? I don't know. I'm not going to start singing, I promise. If I could turn back time, you're singing Cher's song, aren't you, in your mind? I know you are. I can hear it. Would I have learnt tarot another way? I don't think so. I think I'm quite happy with the way I learnt it. The only thing I would say is that I used too many decks in the beginning. I wanted all the decks and all the colours and all the sizes and in all the genres and all the themes. And I did have like 4 or 5 decks on the go at once, and I was pulling daily draws from all of them. But that got me to where I am now with my tarot reading, and I don't have any aspirations to read for anybody else. I only read for myself. So I'm quite happy, using the meanings that I've learned from the Rider-Waite-Smith method, using the guidebook, getting those intuitive hits. It's given me some really powerful readings and really helped me with my healing journey. So I am happy as Larry. I'm happy with my journey. I'm happy with the way I've learned tarot and continue to learn tarot. Obviously, I do still dip into a lot of books, and I do go to the guidebook quite often as well. Yeah, next question. What are your thoughts on the 3 of Swords? Okay, so the 3 of Swords. I'm going to show you this 3 of Swords from one of my favourite decks, Tarot at the End of the Rainbow. I had quite an epiphany with this card here. This 3 of Swords, which has like an altar and 3 swords poking out from it in the woods. And I suddenly had this epiphany, on my healing journey, that, the 3 of Swords can be, about possibly putting one's sadness and hurt on a pedestal, almost like on an altar, and worshipping at that altar and offering and making offerings to that altar in the form of energy, mulling over what's happened, over and over again. And when I worked with this card and pulled this card, I had this epiphany that, I have the choice if I want to put this sadness and hurt on an altar and offer, give it offerings with my energy. With my energy that's not going to go any further than that altar. It's going to just stop and not help me. Or I could use that energy instead to help myself and nourish me in other ways. So I had that epiphany with this card, and I actually did some artwork from this card, which I might pop a picture in here now, or otherwise actually I'll link another video here somewhere, which will kind of explain it a bit better and go a bit more in depth in the work that I did with this card. So for me, I actually really enjoy the Three of Swords now, because whenever the Three of Swords comes up, it is a reminder for me that, you know, I don't need to worship at the altar of sadness anymore. You know, I can move on and use that energy for something else, something that's going to nourish me and help me and heal me, instead of feeding it into something that's, you know, that just sucks up the energy and I don't get anything back from it. I hope that makes sense. Yeah, and that artwork I have on my altar is a constant reminder now that of that message. So yeah, that's my answer about the Three of Swords. That was a bit of a long ramble, but you know, if you've been here for any amount of time, you'll know that, you know, these videos can get a bit rambly. Next question: how many decks do I have right now? Oh, I don't know. I reckon I'm definitely over 100 decks. I think Oracle and tarot. I would say 120, possibly something like that. I'm on a low buy year, so fingers, toes, and arms and legs crossed. That number will not increase so much the next year, or this coming year, sorry. Next question: if I could befriend one person on TarotTube, who would it be? Oh, can I say this? I'm going to say it. I would really like to befriend Sarah from Coyote Tarot. I just love their channel. I love their energy, and I think we could be really great friends. So yeah, that would be my choice in if I could choose. And then the last question is maybe it's not the last question. I'm lying to you. I'm trying to lead you astray. A confession. Oh, a confession. Oh, here's my confession. I have rehomed and gifted 30 decks since January. Yeah, I had my colleague who, you know, who I spoke about, who did the yoga and brought the oracle cards forward. I gifted 20 decks to them. And then I have a new colleague that started where I work who is also really into tarot, and I gifted 10 decks to them as well. So that's my confession. Was that a confession? I don't know. I think it's a confession. I don't usually rehome decks, but I was just, in January I was thinking, you know, I really don't think I'm going to use these decks, and I want them to be used and loved and not just sitting on a shelf gathering dust. I want them to be, you know, loved. So yeah, they went off to their new homes, so I'm very happy. Next question: when is the best time to do tarot? I think the best time for me to do tarot is in the mornings generally. I do have a different a work schedule, so I work at different times in the day, like different shifts. So sometimes I work really early in the morning, and sometimes I work quite late in the afternoon. And if I work and start late in the afternoon, I tend to do my tarot practice in the morning, which works out perfectly for me. So I really like that. I like doing my tarot, sitting down in the morning, lighting some candles, sitting at my altar with a cup of coffee, with my journal out, with a deck or two out, and, you know, just wake up to the day and draw a card about the energy. And I usually draw a card from the dark wood tarot for my shadow self and my inner child self. And I tend to also draw a card from the intuitive night goddess for my higher self, inner high priestess, I'm going to say, as well. I tend to pull one of each of those as well, just to kind of, you know, get a feeling of what's going on. I suppose I should know that really, because, you know, they're all parts of myself, but Rome wasn't built in a day. You know, I know this is the stuff I'm working on. This is part of my healing journey. Yeah. So if I have written all the questions down correctly, I believe that was the last question. So yeah, how about you? Let me know in the comment section if you'd like to answer any of the questions. Let me know what you think about the Three of Swords. I'd be interested to know. Otherwise, let's have one more question, because I like to give people a chance and choice to answer the different questions. Bags or boxes? Let me know in the comment section if you are a person that uses bags for the tarot, or if you keep them in the boxes. Let me know. I'd love to know, because I'm nosy. Yes. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out with me and spending some time with me. Have a lovely day. Take care, and I really hope to see you in the next video. Toodaloo!